After a very tumultuous weekend, it's official. Hong Kong has officially approved Bitcoin spot ETFs. What does this mean? When can we expect to see something happen? Welcome back, everyone. Hope you had a great weekend. The mainstream media will have you believe that the world is completely falling apart. But then all of a sudden, right, on Monday morning, right, April 15th, we get this news, right? Hong Kong spot Bitcoin ETF applicants claim approval. And of course, there's a whole bunch of cheers. And surprisingly, Bitcoin not dead, sitting at like 64K or 65K at the time of this recording. Anyways, let's dive into it because I don't know, maybe people have a bit of a misconception of what this really means, because essentially when news like this comes out, it doesn't all of a sudden just move markets. And then sometimes people feel like something's wrong. Uh-oh, this big news came out and nothing happened. Am I wrong? Sometimes it's just a good idea to take a look at, history, how things have played out. And sometimes it gives us a little bit of a better perspective. Anyways, let's quickly dive into this story before we do some of that historical stuff. So, multiple Hong Kong Bitcoin exchange traded fund applicants, including China Asset Management, Bocera Capital, and others, posted to social media platform WeChat that they had been approved to list spot Bitcoin and Ether ETFs. So for the people who don't know who Bocera Capital is, I started doing some diving into this, and shout out to Humble Warrior, who also is doing research on this stuff. So Bocera Capital is one of the first 5 companies in mainland China that was empowered to be essentially a hedge fund, and they're big. They are not small. They control approximately 250 million RMB. So yeah, this is not a small player. I was trying to figure out what the ties were between them and BlackRock. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but stay tuned. We will most likely be doing another clip about this. Once the markets open up and people actually start to trade these ETFs in Hong Kong. Anyways, let's continue. More will likely follow. They're talking about the ETFs. This will be an additional demand driver for Bitcoin from various countries that could approve spot ETFs, namely Australia, Japan, Korea, and the UK. I mean, in all fairness, right? If we go back, we know that Canada and what was it? Was it the Netherlands also had a Bitcoin ETF like a few years ago? Nobody even cared. And again, I'm not judging and saying, oh, well, that's because it's some country that no one cares about. It's just that the reality is that the majority of media and news is truly focused around the US. So it's just much more impactful when the largest corporations in the US, which are in turn the largest corporations in the world, are all of a sudden securing a Bitcoin ETF, right? Obviously, I'm talking about like BlackRock and the Vanguards and all that good stuff. Well, not Vanguard because they said no, but BlackRock, Fidelity, Bitwise, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, okay, let's continue on. All right. I don't normally bring up the charts, but we're going to do that right now just to give people an idea. What you're looking at right here is January 11th. I believe that was the day that the US spot ETFs got their approval and began to trade. Now, interestingly enough, we'll see here that within a couple of days of trading, right, the price went down. It lost its little hype, right, to like 46K and went all the way down to 38.6. Okay, went all the way down to 38.6, and at that point, a lot of the mainstream media pundits said, well, that's it, right? That the top was in, people sold the news, and it's over. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't understand Bitcoin. And really what ended up happening is that we ended up going from that 30K range, 38K, all the way up to 70K in a matter of 3 months. Okay, so approximately another 12 weeks. So when we're thinking about Hong Kong and we're thinking about these ETFs, I'm not saying necessarily that these timelines are going to be the exact same, but people need to realize that money in the traditional system does not move that quickly. Like indeed in Bitcoin, we can get our 10-minute block time confirmations. Okay. And within an hour, it's more than reasonable to believe your transaction is permanent. But the traditional banking system doesn't work like this. And no matter how wealthy you are, there's a certain amount of time that has to take place before your money can move and before you can actually start to do something with your money. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is that just in my eyes, the same way that the US ETF approvals turned out to be a bit of a nothing burger on the day they were announced and approved and started trading, it took approximately 3 months for the market to make up its mind, and essentially you could start to see the trend of the inflows of capital into it. So, okay, we are in April, right? Let's extrapolate out. So we've got 3 months. We figure what? By mid-July, right? Mid-July, beginning of August, we should start to see that. That's pretty interesting considering the halvening is this week. Well, 420, 419, 420, we'll see, but it is going to be this week, right? And in previous cycles, the Bitcoin fiat exchange doesn't seem to go higher until about 3 months after the halvening event, which also would coincide with the timing of Hong Kong's Bitcoin ETF approval, right? Because they just approved it this week. So if we extrapolate out 3 months the same way we did from the previous ETF approval, that puts us perfectly in line, even with the timing. Regardless of ETFs, it actually puts us in line with the timing of previous halvening events and momentum price moves in Bitcoin. Anyways, guys, I'm not telling you this because of like hopium or something like that. For me, it's a matter of rationalization, right? Like I essentially, this is what I woke up wanting to look at. And I was like, you know what, let's talk about this today, because I'm sure that people are wondering, and I'm not saying that I have, necessarily the right answers or anything like that. It's just a matter of perspective. This is my perspective. We'll see how it plays out. Guys, let me know what you think. Put it in the comments. I'm going to catch you tomorrow.